One of the growing trends, especially since the collapse of the Soviet Union, has been a global spread of democracy. We're going to see democracy spread to Spain, Portugal, and Greece in the 1970s. By the 1990s, pretty much all of Latin America, with the exception of Cuba, were now democracies. Most of Eastern Europe and Russia, for that matter, once the Soviet Union collapses, they're going to adopt democracies. And we've even started to see the spread of democracy in parts of the Middle East. For example, in Iraq, after the US invasion of 2003, they're going to establish a democratic regime there. And in places like Saudi Arabia, we've seen in local elections, they've started to allow some democratic, open, free elections there as well. And Kuwait even granted women the right to vote. So that's one of these growing trends in recent decades is the global spread of democracy. Now, many of these democracies continue to struggle, and especially in parts of Latin America, we see their economies continue to struggle, but we have seen an overall growth of democracy. Another side effect of the end of the Cold War was that the United States pretty much emerges as the sole superpower in the world. And by 2005, the US was spending more on their military spending than the next 25 countries combined, and continued to play a large role in global affairs. And there have been competitors that have tried to kind of resist this US as a sole superpower. Russia and China have both tried to kind of build up their power as well. But after the Cold War, the United States did emerge as kind of the sole superpower. Another big turning point in the United States was the terrorist attacks on 9/11. So September 11th, 2001, Al-Qaeda is going to oversee a terrorist attack on the United States. They're going to crash 2 planes into the World Trade Centers in New York City. They're going to crash a 3rd plane into the Pentagon. A 4th plane is going to be down before it could be used as a weapon in a field in Pennsylvania. And following this, the United States is going to completely shift the way they looked at and dealt with terrorism. And so the war on terror refers to this shift in US policy towards terrorism. Immediately, the United States is going to go in and invade Afghanistan. Afghanistan was under the control of the Taliban regime there, who supported Al-Qaeda, who was a terrorist group who led the attacks on 9/11. And so they're going to overthrow the Taliban regime there and prop up a democratic government in Afghanistan that continues to struggle, but they have successfully established a democratic government there. They're also going to invade Iraq in 2003 when Saddam Hussein failed to live up to sanctions placed on him after his invasion of Kuwait. Also, Saddam Hussein was supporting terrorist organizations as well. So the United States invades Iraq and overthrows Saddam Hussein, and again, propped up a democratic government in Iraq. But it's also shifted how the United States kind of approaches terrorist attacks. Instead of being more reactive, the United States has been much more preemptive in going after terrorist groups before they have a chance to launch their attacks. It's also led to greater government surveillance and control. One good example of this is government screenings of international visitors coming to the United States.